I was thinking about money as I was backstage, and I was thinking about what we think about when we hear money advice. And I don't know, is anyone else tired of like 65-year-old guys telling us we can't spend money on lattes? Like if I tell you not to spend money on lattes in the next 3 days, please kill me, because we're not going to be talking about that. What we are going to be talking about is how to use money to live a rich life. So today we're going to talk about money management. We're going to talk about the psychology of money, stuff that most people don't talk about. What we find when we open up a money book, what do we see? Anyone, what have you seen when you open up a money book? What's the feeling you get? What do you read in those money books? Anybody know? Boring? Yes. What else?
Lots of charts and graphs.
Charts and graphs. As if another mathematical graph is going to make us be like, yeah, okay, I'm definitely going to change my ways. No. And yet, most people think that. What they do is they totally ignore the psychological side of money. All right, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why we know we should be doing better with our money, and yet we don't. Then we're going to talk about marketing, entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about how to take your creativity and turn it into income. And then on the last day, we're going to talk about careers. So everything from interviewing, finding out what should I do with my life, to negotiating. And by the way, this works if you have a 9-to-5 job. This also works if you're negotiating with clients. So let's say that you're a photographer or a writer, and you are constantly getting clients who are saying like, oh, okay, yeah, why don't you build me that website for $78? You're like, I don't think so. This costs $12,000. So we're going to talk about how to negotiate with those clients and find the right ones. Okay, so that's going to be over the next 3 days. And today, we're going to start by talking about how to dominate your finances. All right, so let's get right into it. What we're going to do, we're going to have a lot of time for discussion. We're going to talk here in studio. We're going to talk with the folks who are watching online as well. I wanted to start by telling you what we're going to cover. So we're going to cover the psychology of money. We're going to talk about how to save money. I'm going to show you where you're going to be at the end of today. But most importantly, we're going to talk about living a rich life. And my belief is if you should find the things that you love and spend extravagantly on them, as long as you're cutting costs mercilessly on the things you don't love. So that's quite different than most advice, which is no, cut on everything. And we're not going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about how to actually spend more on the things you love, as long as you're managing the rest of what you do. Okay? So why are we starting with money? One of the things we know, has anyone here lost a lot of weight or gotten fit, changed their life in terms of health? Okay, great. Did that have any other changes on the rest of your lifestyle, Dawn?
Everything.
Like what?
Well, over the last year, I lost 91 pounds.
Amazing.
So it affected the way people talk to me, and the way they look at me and judge me just on daily interactions.
Yeah.
It changed my relationship with my husband. It changed my kids. My kids have lost weight now. It affected my finance. I had to buy a whole new wardrobe. So it's affected absolutely every area of my life.
I love that. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Losing 91 pounds, amazing. What we know from the world of psychology is that there are these certain areas of life that if we change them, they're called keystone habits, if we change them, they're actually able to affect a lot of other areas as well. Health is definitely one, finances, definitely another one. So a lot of us who are watching today, or even who are in here, we have full-time creative positions. Some of us have 9-to-5 jobs and creative jobs on the side. Why are we talking about Roth IRA or automating our money? Because if we get this right, then when we wake up in the morning, we don't have to worry about what am I doing with my money? Am I saving on this $2 entree, right? Or can I actually focus on the things I love to do, the things that add value to the world, like creating amazing photos, writing things that will move people and change behavior. That's what we want to do. We don't want to sit around worrying about bill pay. It's just not worth our time. Okay, so that's why we're starting with money, because if we get this right, everything else can actually have the room to soar. All right, so let's talk about where we're going to be at the end of the day. I'm going to show you a quick diagram here. This is the money system that took me about 8 to 10 years to build. I'm pretty slow, that's why it took me that long. But basically, if I ask anybody who's watching, I'd say, what are you doing with the next $100 you make? Most people would have no idea. They'd say, I don't know, it's going into my checking account and then I'll just spend it. And what if I said, hey, I want to take a trip, let's go to Thailand at the end of the year? Most people would have no idea how to actually make that money work for them. They'd be like, oh, okay, I don't know, I got to look at that. And then they just go look in their checking account, see some amount, and have no idea. what my students can do after going through this is know exactly where their money's going. So I'm just going to give you a quick breakdown of this, and then we're going to go into it in detail. Don't worry about the details right now. Basically, in this system, you get paid, whatever that may be. You may get paid from a client. You may get paid from a 9-to-5 job. It goes into your checking account. Think of this like an email inbox, right? Your email inbox is now filtering money where it needs to go automatically. You don't do anything. You're not sitting around writing checks. No way. It's happening without you doing anything. The thing I love here is you have guilt-free spending. Look at this. Guilt-free means if you really want to buy a $250 pair of shoes, $500 jeans, take a $1,000 weekend trip to Vegas, do it. Because the rest of everything is happening without you doing anything. Again, you have to be able to afford it, but I'm going to show you how to do that today, tomorrow, and the third day. What's the point of this system, and why are we talking about systems? This is all about psychology. Because most of us believe, and has anyone said this? If I just try harder, I can save that $100. Has anyone said that? Or they say, you know, what are the words we use? If I just try harder, I can lose those last 10 pounds. Let's actually go to the web as well. And as we do it here, what are the code words that we've used to talk about willpower? If I just try harder, or I really need to get serious this month. What code words have we used in the room? I just need to figure it out. Great one. Love that. That took us about 6 months to crack that code for our dream job course that we were doing. I just need to figure it out. What do you got?
You need to buckle down and do it.
I need to buckle down. Very good. Anybody else have any code words?
Got a couple online. We've got Vintage Jones, who is saying, I just have to convince myself.
Good.
And Honky Tonk says, if I have someone hold me accountable.
Yes. Interesting. It's interesting that we want to be held accountable. And yet, when we think about it, when was the last time someone actually held us accountable? When was the last time someone actually said to you, you know, hey, Mike, I think you did an okay job, but you really could do a lot better. And I think you didn't give it your all this time. When was the last time someone said that to us? When we were kids, probably. Very few people actually hold us accountable. And we're going to talk more about psychology and willpower now.
We have a bunch more coming in.
Yeah, let's hear it.
To share. So
Let's get some code words.
We have Don Lee Photography says, if I could just learn this stuff. We have Portia 1596 say, if I only had a magic wand.
Yeah,
that's a great
good.
code word.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that one.
Kaylee K, if only I wasn't working so much.
Oh yes, I love that. Like a lot of creatives, I don't have time to do marketing. I'm working too hard. Right, okay.
This is a great one because I believe everybody has probably said this in their life. Yaz says, if I could just win the lottery.
Yes, yes. You know, it's funny, there's a study done, and they asked people, like, do you think you'll be rich? And 21% of people believe that they would become rich by winning the lottery. I was like,
wild.
I'm going to kill you. Okay, so what happens? Okay, so we talk about the system, we're gonna cover that. Now, where your friends will be in 20 years. Now, this is a half joking, okay? Your friends are probably not gonna be waking up and sobbing every morning uncontrollably. But what we know is that we tend to put our money off until much later, right? I'll do it one day. I'll do it when I have time. I'll learn about this stuff later. I'll start investing once I have some money to invest. Has anyone ever said that? Right? Which is so ironic because the way you actually grow your wealth is to start investing. You don't just wake up one day, have $1 million in the bank and say, okay, I think I'm gonna start investing today. All of these things are code words for putting it off until another day. It's almost like cleaning your garage. Nobody wants to clean their garage, and yet you know it will make you feel good. It'll clean up all the cobwebs in your head and even in your garage. But there's not some magical day where we're going to want to sit down and do our finances. The beautiful thing is it's actually not that hard. I'm going to show you how to eliminate most of the noise you hear. And when you do it, like I spend less than 1 hour a month on my finances, okay? And they run automatically, like a finely tuned machine. It's beautiful. And thousands of my students do the same thing because they use that system. So let me just quickly tell you why I'm talking about money. What kind of weird Indian kid gets into starting to study about investments? It's the kookiest thing. So my parents, we're a very middle-class family. We have a pretty big family. And my parents said, okay, you want to go to college? That's great. You need to get some scholarships. All right, so I'm a weirdo in the sense that I love systems. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I've never been. But I loved systems, meaning I could do a little bit of work and then kind of scale that massively. And I think we all have that dream of being able to do just a little bit of amazing work and then scale it so we can repeat it over and over and over again. So I built this system to apply to about 65 or 70 scholarships. And I started getting scholarships. And I remember the first check I got was for $2,000. They wrote it directly to me. I was like, oh, this sounds pretty good. What am I gonna, and that's a lot of money for like a 17-year-old kid. So of course, what does everyone do with their scholarship money? They invest it in the stock market. And I promptly lost half of it immediately. I thought I was so smart. So I said, oh man, I better learn how this money thing works. And I started spending a lot of time reading all the books, watching all the TV shows, etc. And at the same time, I was studying psychology and persuasion at Stanford. So I'm doing these kind of dual tracks. I'm learning about money, I'm learning about persuasion and human behavior. And something doesn't add up. It's almost like the emperor has no clothes, because I kept reading stuff like, keep a budget, or don't spend money on lattes, and I look around and like no one is listening to that advice. How many people here have heard someone say, don't spend money on lattes? 100% of people in the room. And how many people continue to buy your morning latte? Okay, love it. I love it, and I approve. You should. Not buying lattes is the stupidest advice money people can give. Let me tell you why. First of all, it doesn't save you that much money. They're like, this is the argument. If you cut back on your lattes for the next 40 years, that will add up to $32,000. Yes, except I want to commit suicide every morning. I don't have caffeine, right? That's what people say. And by the way, $3 is not, in the grand scheme of things, it's a cognitive tax. Instead of focusing on stuff that could save you $100,000, which I'm going to talk about. So I've sensed this disconnect, and I started writing about money, and I started trying to teach people money. And people they're like, oh, that sounds great. I'll come to your free class. And then nobody would show up. Why? Because it took me years to figure this out, because we hate going to events about money because it makes us feel bad about ourselves, right? And if you buy a book on money, what does that say about you? It says, I don't know anything about money. I should know this. Nobody really teaches us this, but I somehow should magically know this. So I started this site, iwillteachyoutoberich.com, and I started writing about money in a different way, a way like you and I would sit around, we'd have a beer, talk about it. I'd call people out, I'd say, look, that's stupid what you're doing. Or man, like, I can't figure this stuff out. And over time, I built the system that I showed you, and I learned that like understanding how investments work and stuff, that's important. But nobody ever woke up in the morning and said, yes, I want to learn about the difference between corporate and municipal bonds. Nobody cares, right? They just want to know what are the words we use when we talk about money? Let me give you some examples. Let's throw to the web as well. What do we say when it comes to our money? How about, shit, I just crossed $10,000 in credit card debt. Or, I just had a son. How am I going to pay for his college? What are the words we use when it comes to our money? Anybody? What are the code words?
Failure, if I don't save enough.
If I don't save enough. Very good. What else? What else?
I go between there's never enough or there's so much abundance.
Yeah.
Where do I focus on reaping that in? So I kind of go between the two.
Good. Okay, good. So very different dichotomy. Okay, good.
Yeah.
We think about money in ways that have nothing to do with an encyclopedia of terms. I will never give you an encyclopedia of terms the same amount because we don't care, right? It's like nobody wants to learn all the different ways to do an ab workout. They just want a six-pack, right? They want the results. I will teach you to be rich, right? We want to be rich. We don't necessarily want to learn the difference between corporate and municipal bonds. So yeah, we got something from the web.
Yes, there's always that little delay, so we have a bunch of
Yeah.
answers coming
All right.
in. What have we got?
We've got someone who's saying they're out of control.
Love it, out of control. Anybody here feel like that? Like your money just out of control a little bit? Yeah.
Here's Donna Lee Photography says, if the government didn't take out so much in taxes, I could save a little bit.
Right, okay, we'll talk about that. I believe that, I don't necessarily agree with that, but we'll talk about that, okay.
G.A. Crystal says some of it just seems so complicated.
Yes, it does. It does seem complicated. We'll talk about why Wall Street makes it complicated. Okay?
Yaz again says, money is the key word that will make me bury my head in the sand.
That's right. Okay, so there's a lot of emotion going on with
Yes.
money, and yet when we talk about money, it's almost never presented with that background. It's always like, here's the mathematical chart, duh, and we just shut down because it doesn't resonate with us. So I learned a couple of lessons as I started studying these two parallel tracks, right? And I want to cover these lessons very quickly. The first is that you don't have to be the smartest person in the world to be rich. And why am I saying this? Because sometimes we think, I need to learn a bunch more before I start investing, right? It's a very common belief that I need to learn a little bit more before I start, like a lot more. Like, give me a couple years of reading these books. Of course, do we read these books? No. But we put it off because I need to get smarter. What we know from the literature is that even the fanciest Wall Street money managers, they can't even beat the market 80% of the time. Let me say that again. These guys are paid millions of dollars a year. They can't even beat the market when they invest 80% of the time. 80% of the time, they fail to beat the market. I want to be crystal clear about that. And by the way, everyone in this room can actually match the market, meaning you can get better returns than professional money investors. We're going to cover exactly how to do that. Okay? And I'm actually going to give you a few books. By the way, who here knows someone who's complained about money for like 20 years? They're always complaining like, I don't have enough money, blah, 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 blah. Has this person ever read one good book on money? Ever? No. Never. They complain about it for their whole lives. It's like, get a life. You don't get to complain around me if you haven't read. Go read one book, I'll listen to your complaints.
Or there's everyone who's bought the books, but they stay sitting on the shelf.
Oh, love that. Because you know what's funny? In the self-development world, it's so great. People believe often that if I buy a course, that's enough. They wash their hands, oh, I'm done, I bought that course. That doesn't do anything. You have to take action. And today, the whole point is the difference between what we know and what we do. That's that nexus that we're going to be exploring today. So I'm going to give you actually 3 book recommendations that I really like. These are not my books. I think my book is great too, but I want to give you 3 other books that I really liked as well. Okay, so one is The Smartest Investment Book You'll Ever Read. It's a very short book, great book on investing, and it really exposes a lot of the hypocrisies of Wall Street. It also shows you how individual investors should behave. Very simple stuff, and the way you can actually significantly grow your wealth without getting scammed or tricked or having to learn a million different things about investing. I love this book. Next one, The Millionaire Next Door. Now this one is a bit at odds with my philosophy, but I still like it. And it talks about how many people think that to get rich or to grow your wealth, you have to be running a hedge fund and you have to be doing all this evil stuff. And that's actually not true. These researchers did studies of millionaires and they discovered how they grew their wealth. And it turns out that it's very counterintuitive. Most people who are wealthy did it through systematic, slow growth. They didn't just inherit their wealth from someone, etc. They actually did it very slowly. And they spent less on average than their neighbors. Like they drive, well, for me, you guys already know what kind of car I drive, right? Indian people, we only drive 2 cars. Honda Accord, Toyota Camry, boom. We only have 2 choices. Honda Accord for me. So they actually drive these like very simple cars compared to their neighbor who actually drives like a much better car, but they're in debt. Now, my point of my system was when I said spend extravagantly on the things you love, that is assuming you can afford it, okay? A lot of jackasses, they're like, well, come on, man, I'm 26. I need to be driving a Mercedes. Like, no, you don't, okay? That's a good book. And the third one, Why Smart People Make Big Money Mistakes. This is a good one as well, touches a lot on the psychological side of money, okay? Again, something that's totally ignored by most money people. And I think we know that if we're honest with ourselves, we think about how do we feel when someone talks to us about money. It almost feels like, it's like a parent lecturing us about something, and it just doesn't connect, right? A lot of nods here. Why is that? Can anyone resonate with that?
Yeah.
Sarah.
A friend of mine has like a really nice freelancing career, makes tons and tons of money, and whenever he talks to me about these things, I just feel terrible.
Why?
The conversation never goes anywhere. Because I'm not as successful as he is in that way. Mm-hmm. And so it's always sort of like hard to listen to. One, because I know that I can do it and I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And so it always feels like, oh, it's something that he can do, even though I know that it's sort of something that I can do. Very
good. Who else? Who else feels like they've been lectured to? Yeah, Megan.
Yeah, I feel that when that happens, I feel so far removed from where that person is.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to kind of connect the dots and say, oh, this is the trail I could follow to get where you are now.
Right. They're like, just put 25% of your assets into a trust. You're like, what? I don't even understand what those words mean. What are you talking about? Yeah, we've got some from the web.
Actually, this is from me personally.
Okay.
I generally feel like it's something, because money is so ingrained in our lives, it's something that I feel like I should just know.
Right.
And so when someone tries to tell me something, I like get defensive, like, oh, I should already know that.
Totally.
And I don't open myself up to actually learn it. And so that's
very good. The older we get, the more we feel that way, which is so weird. Yeah, Drew.
Oh, I was just gonna say, one of my friends is now a professional photographer, and I look at myself and I'm like, well, why didn't I just do that, or why didn't I have that idea?
Right.
And it kind of sets you back even further than you already were, because you beat yourself up over an idea you think you should have had,
right?
But something that may have never come to you in the first place.
A lot of what I'm hearing is comparisons we make to other people, right? And why didn't I do that? Or I should be able to do that. Or, I'm smarter than that guy. Why is he making more than me, right? Tons of stuff, especially guys. We love to compare ourselves to our stupid friends. Like this jackass. That's just the way it goes, right? And women also love to compare themselves to other women in different ways. I'll tell you a very interesting example. I have a friend of mine who lost a ton of weight, and she actually had 2 kids and lost more weight than her pre-pregnancy. So she looks great, and she went to her reunion just a couple days ago. She texted me afterwards and said, "You're not going to believe what people said to me." She said 3 independent women came up to her, and this is the exact phrase they used. They said, "I just have to tell you, I hate you. You look so good." Now that's a very gendered, look at all the women in here like kind of smiling. It's a very gendered language to use. A guy would never say that to would I come up to you, "Hey dude, I just want to tell you I hate you. You look amazing." No, never. It's a very gendered thing to say. So money and gender, we're going to tackle that later today, but there are differences in money and gender. I know that's so shocking to say, but it's actually very true. We'll cover that as well. Okay, so 3 great books that I recommend. Those are very good. Start with that.